We got a master recruiter here in the house for the area. He knows all about this science of influence stuff. I highly recommend you get a pen out. I called it a writing stick earlier. All right, it can also be a pencil or a crayon for my Marine friends. I see a couple. But anyways, this man's been in the industry for about 10 years. Past 8 years, every single year he's hit the $100,000 ring. He is knocking on the door. Platinum agent, Mr. Glenn Davis, is going to be going over recruiting.
How's everybody doing? You guys ready for a jam-packed training? All right, so I'm going to try to keep it short. We should be out of here by midnight or so. Just joking. Just joking. I heard some people gasp. Okay, so can everybody hear me okay? Awesome. Chad, where'd you go?
I'm right here.
There you are. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Everybody, Chad is just doing a phenomenal job here in this marketplace. You know, we were talking earlier before the meeting started, and he's learning a lot. He's coming a long way. I think he's a phenomenal MC. Everybody just give him a round of applause. Okay, awesome. So just joking. My goal is to be out of here in an hour, hour and 15 minutes at the latest. And I just do want to also point something else out. I'm going to drag this over. This is how the DMV does it. Can you see? Can you see all right, Tracy? Good. Okay. So we improvise here. Okay. So we forgot a tripod. So here this is. Okay. Can everybody see this all right? Yeah. Okay. Great. See, it works. It works. Yeah, so I'm going to go through the slides. We have some slides. I'm going to do, the way I structure this training is I kind of just want to, not go off the cuff, but I have my own training and my own nuggets that I have that I've been training on a long time. So I can train here, and then what we'll do is we'll actually go through the slides to kind of cap this out, and it'll kind of pick up anything that I may have missed. Okay, all right, everybody. So I have my notes here. Look, before we get started, just want to share with everybody kind of my quick story. Chad kind of already went into it a little bit, but I believe that in every story, and we all have a story, I believe that in every story there's actually a training. Like if you actually told your story someday, or if you told your story now, there'd be nuggets in that about your life and about Secret even, you could relate to it. But someday when you're up here training, I encourage you to really embrace your story and not hide from it. We all have our own unique stories. And so mine actually starts, what's pertinent to this industry. Obviously, I'm not going to go back to 1982 when I was born. We would be here until midnight. But, what's pertinent for this training, I'll just go back to when I was a personal trainer. I was in college. I went to the University of Maryland, College Park. My whole time, my whole life growing up, I was told to go to school, get good grades, and then get a job. And my dad is actually a pretty successful guy in corporate America. So I kind of, and I look up to my dad. He's a good role model, and so I kind of grew up with this attitude, like, I'm going to go to school, and it's definitely what I'm going to do. But honestly, I never really took to school. I was kind of a C student, BC student. My daughter, I hope she's not watching this because that's. Do what I say, not what I do. Straight A's, Daisy. So anyway, but yeah, so I was C student. I just didn't really embrace school, but I did go to college, and during college, I never could see, kind of like Rich was saying, I never could see myself working for anybody else. So I started personal training when I was in college, and I really loved it. I loved helping people. I loved the gym. It was a great job. And I actually I became real good at it. I actually, I made really good money, especially in the bubble economy when everybody was kind of throwing money around. It's not like that these days, but I kind of did some dumb things. I made a and I was just kind of spending money. And I think we've all kind of been through that. And my philosophy in life is, look, if you fail, it's God trying to wake you up, saying, don't keep doing what you're doing. Change what you're doing. Change your actions, and you'll get different results. And so basically, I got into real trouble. I'm talking, I lost everything. So here I am. It's hard for me to talk about, but I grew up really well. I grew up in a good household. I'm not gonna, I wasn't rags to riches type of story, but I did have the fortunate blessing to experience being completely broke. I lost everything. My car got repossessed in front of my neighbors. I mean, it wasn't pretty. And my dad, he grew up poor, so my dad was, my dad's a pretty hardcore guy. He was like, you're on your own, bro. Great dad, but I certainly wasn't going to come back to him. And so I should say crawling back to him, so I took it on the chin, and I kept going. And around the time when this was all happening, I actually found this industry back. Actually, let me back up. In 2005, I started with a company, with a network marketing company, and completely failed. The whole time when I was a trainer, just failed in that company, failed. And I'm going to talk about that during the training tonight, why I was failing. And then in 2008, that's when I really started to, really dive into the industry of network marketing, relationship marketing. And that's actually right when I was losing everything, basically, I found my previous company. And during that, in that company, that's when I started to make 6 figures. So, my story, what I don't want is I don't want people. It can be encouraging, but it also can be discouraging. Because I don't want everybody to think that it's an overnight success. You're just going to wake up and you're going to be a 6-figure earner in network marketing in secret. And it's not the case. It takes a lot of failure, a lot of failing forward, a lot of tenacity, and some come to Jesus talks with yourself. And that's what it's going to take. And that's what I went through. And I picked up a lot about this industry and this whole process, man. I tell you, this recruiting training tonight, is basically like my whole life on paper, as far as my whole, I should say, career, because I'm going to pour into you guys, or I'm going to try to, everything that I've learned. So maybe, hopefully, you guys can take some of the mistakes I made, and you can take some of the things I did right, and you can apply it and save yourself some time. So basically, fast forward till now, I just started with Secret about 6 months ago. I started building with Secret. I actually met Ben. We met in middle school, but we worked together in a previous company. And Ben and Lauren, introduced Secret to me. We kind of did a switcheroo. I introduced them to the previous company, and they introduced me to this. And so it's been awesome. And so what I don't want, again, some of you here might have been here for a little while, and what I'll say, like I said before, is it can be encouraging and discouraging. It can be encouraging, the fact that, yes, you can build a business fast. I've built pretty quickly, but that's because of, number one, good people, right? Number one, good people, and number two, I've met those good people over these years. So really, that's what it's all about. And so, in short, it really is all about recruiting, because that's why everybody here is here tonight. That's why I'm standing here. I was recruited into this industry. You were recruited into this industry. And so if you want to advance in your Secret career and in life, it's really about building relationships, and it's about, like I said, I've been talking, the theme of the past 10 minutes has been failing forward and meeting people and keep on going, okay? And then turning those relationships and introducing them into this. So that's kind of my quick story and why I'm here. I guess the first nugget of the night is failure is a blessing. Okay, guys. So definitely, if you feel like you've failed, you can always start over. And so tonight, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about recruiting in 2 different lights, if you will, 2 different avenues of recruiting. There's the mental aspect, okay, and then there's the how-to. Okay. You all excited about this or what? Yeah. Recruit, okay. Do you know what I mean by recruiting is everything? You know what I mean by that? Because really,
it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. Recruiting is certainly a way of life. Meaning you're always open, you're always looking for, you're always in business. Okay. But the other thing, what I mean, everything is, really everything you want in life. and out of Secret can be attained by one recruit. And in this comp plan, really 2 recruits, But one recruit can really change everything because, when you recruit somebody and they work with you and they're good quality people, they're here every week like you guys, that can really change your whole entire business. And so without that, you're going to stay, and we're going to stay right where we are. And so, if I'm a platinum, I want to get to Ruby, it's a matter of just recruiting more people. And so that's why this is so important. But there's 2 aspects to recruiting. There's the mental aspect, what happens in between your ears, and then there's the how-tos. And the reality is, maybe many of you tonight are looking for a lot of how-tos. Like I have always, every time I sit down for training, I look for the how-tos. But the reality is, without the mental knowledge, the mental mindset, the positivity, the positive mindset, without that, without that, it's almost impossible to take the how-tos and apply them and succeed. You guys follow me? You can have all the how-tos and all the knowledge in the world, but if you're not in the right mind frame and you're not on game mentally, like Keith already alluded to, growing and reading books and turning your business or your car into a university and growing and moving forward in life, it's going to be very difficult to apply those how-tos, successfully. So, recruiting is basically, it happens in 90-day sprints, okay? So what I want to open up this training, beside my story, by talking about the 90-day sprint, all right? There's a reason why we're doing Mission 90. The reality is, the majority of the growth in your business will occur within 90-day sprints. And that should quite honestly be a relief to everybody tonight. A relief because you don't have to always be recruiting nonstop like a robot, like a machine. You guys, are you happy about that? Because recruiting is tough. It's not easy. Okay, if it were easy, then everybody would be diamond $250,000 plus earners in this company. It's not easy, but the good news is you don't have to always be recruiting. In fact, if you recruit, you're probably not managing your team and actually leading people and growing people in your organization. So what we do in Secret and just in the industry is we go in 90-day sprints. Okay, so raise your hand if you've committed to Mission 90 in here. Okay, awesome. That is phenomenal. Yeah, thanks, Lauren. So Mission 90 is basically accomplishing 90 presentations, okay, within 90 days. And this started, what did it start?
January 27th.
January 27th, right. So, we're approaching the halfway mark, but the reason why this is so important is because nothing happens in your business without communication and without an exposure. You guys follow me? Without that, you're not gonna recruit anybody. And so this 90-day sprint is extremely important because if you can pour everything if you pour everything into 90 days, it can change your business. Then you can take a breather after that and go and help people and duplicate and build your organization. And then maybe in 6 months from now, go on a 90-day sprint. I did my 90 days when I first, started with Secret in October. I should say first started coming live with Secret. For many of you who know my story, I couldn't necessarily come out live with Secret because I would have lost my income from my previous company. So I kind of was undercover for a little while. But when I actually went live, my 90 days was October, November, and December were like really my 90-day. Now I committed to Mission 90. Now I'm running, but it's I kind of did two and a half or 1.5 90 days. So yeah. So back to the mental part of it though. The reason why this works so well, all right. The reason why the 90-day sprint works so well is because once you break the ice of recruiting and activity, you're in the flow of things, and it's easier to keep going. I think it's one saying in this industry is it's much easier to build this business fast than it is to build it slow. And the reason being is because right now I know that many of you are where I've been, okay, and we've all been there, Bradshaw's, maybe in a low point. Maybe you haven't had a victory in a little while, right? And it's tough to keep marching forward with that. Raise your hand if you either have experienced that or are experiencing that right now. Absolutely, okay? the reality is, if you can harness your momentum, that is what's going to help you break that cycle. Okay, so right now you might be in a sort of a low mindset, right? Because you haven't had a victory. Well, when you go through the numbers and you do this mission 90, right? And you expose 90 people in 90 days, you're going to have a victory. And when you have a victory, that's when you know to keep going. I think one of the biggest mistakes that I made in my earlier career, and many people make, is once they have a victory, they stop. Okay? All right, now I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand on this, but think to yourself, have you ever had a recruit in a victory and then kind of just stop? Right? Yeah, I got one. Right? And then stop, right? That's when you hit the pedal even more. So raise your hand if you've had a recruit in the last 7 days. Raise your hand if you had a recruit in the last 7 days. Keep them raised, keep them raised. Yeah, let's clap for that, by the way. Okay, awesome. Okay, guys, so if you raise your hand, that means you need to keep stepping up, okay? Even harder. Because what happens is when you get in that mind frame, and we all know we all know how that feels. When you have a success, you're kind of unstoppable, and that's when you want to keep pressing it. Okay, so the first nugget is to never quit, and that came from my story. The second nugget for tonight is to embrace this 90-day run and to keep going through the numbers until you have a victory or 2 or 3, and when you do, that's when you hit the pedal faster. Now we're going to talk tonight, or harder. We're going to talk tonight about how to prospect and how to recruit and all these things. But the reality is, whatever is in between your ears, all right, which is about 5.5 inches. If you can control the 5.5 inches in between your ears, which this 90-day run helps to do because it gets you on momentum, right? And it'll get you excited about having a victory, and that's when you're unstoppable. That's all just kind of manipulating what's going on between your ears. You guys, are you picking up what I'm putting down? It is very difficult to recruit into, when you're low. That's why you got to keep going, break that ice, get that success, and keep going forward. But the reality is it's all in between the ears. And I challenge, we're not going to do this tonight. Oh, what the heck, let's do it tonight. A dollar bill is about 5.5 inches. Every one, okay? No matter if it's a $100 bill, a $1 bill, whatever it is, about 5.5 inches. So Chad, I'm going to use you because you've been the star of the show tonight. So put this up to your face like this. All right. Right center it, and I'll tell you when to center it.
My ears are crooked.
I'm going to turn around. Is that about from ear to ear? Yeah. Give or take? What's crazy is, if you put this, for the most part, obviously, I tell you what, you keep that, bro. I won't try to stuff it down your pants. Maybe Tracy will. I'm sorry, Tracy. I had to, bro. I had to. But here's the thing, guys. Look, if you do that with anybody, okay, 90% of the time it's right about 5.5 inches. And if you can control the 5.5 inches, and we're going to talk tonight about how to do that, right? But that's really the name of the game. I could talk till I'm blue in the face about how-tos, but when you're on that, when you have your mojo, that's when you keep stepping on the pedal, all right? So besides the momentum, all right, there's obviously how-tos. Now, this is an acronym that I use to remember the how-tos. Now, again, I'm going to weave the mental stuff in this next 45 minutes or so when I'm talking about some of these how-tos, because a lot of it is mental. But here's an acronym, and if you're taking notes, make sure you write this down. I screwed it up. Mr. F's. All right? Mr. F's. Just remember that. That's the name of the game, Mr. F's. He's a master. Mr. F's rocks. I love Mr. F's. You guys like Mr. F's? He's a good neighbor. All right? Now, see, you won't forget this. Okay, you're not going to forget this. So what does Mr. F's mean? Okay. Well, first of all, you got to meet people. All right? You got to meet people. And then you got to build the relationship. Got to build the relationship. And then at some point, you need to expose them to this business. And for the most part, you're going to have to follow up. Okay? And then hopefully, you'll sponsor them. And then, you taproot. You guys tracking? That's the name of the game. Don't never forget that. And you remember Mr. F's. All right? That's how I remember it. I have that on my vision board. I have that right on my desk, Mr. F's, you know? And if people ask me, I'm like, well, it's funny you asked what that is. Have you ever heard a secret? You know, if they're over in my house or whatever. Okay? And so, we're going to go through each one of these things, all right? So, first of all, you got to meet people. That makes sense, right?
Yes.
Okay. You can't really do much in this business if you're not meeting people, right? So our list, so basically, when you meet people, you can do warm, well, you have warm market, obviously, right? And you have a cold market. And that's really all there is. Can anybody, I mean, there's cold, there's lukewarm, but that's a cold market person that's becoming a warm market person. Can you guys think of any other human being out there that wouldn't be somebody that you either know or don't know? Right? So it's really, you got a warm market and you got a cold market, okay? So what I want to do tonight, by the way, what I want to accomplish is I just really want to make this simple, fun, and I like to deduce things down to just kind of the basics, right? Because that's how I at least learn, all right? So what we're going to do right now is we're going to talk about warm market, and we're going to discuss how to expose your warm market and recruit your warm market. Because again, warm market is somebody who you've already met, okay? So the first thing you want to do is make a list. Okay. So what I want to do right now is share with you how I make my list. Now every leader really, most of the time, has a little different, idiosyncrasies in how they do their list. But for me, what I do, okay, what I've done is I make a list of everybody I've ever met in my life. Everybody. Now Rico knows this. Kelly, we met last week, right? So let me tell you a little bit about what I used to do and what I do now, okay? What I used to do is I used to just kind of prejudge. When I first got in the industry, I made a list of just, random people that I was thinking of. I wasn't really trying to turn over stones and find everybody. But the reality is, it might be the person that is in your phone book that you could have skipped over and maybe never thought about, maybe see them once every 10 years, that actually is going to be interested in Secret and maybe or lead to a six-figure earner in this business. You guys follow me? So don't leave anybody on the table. I used to leave a lot of people out of my list. I used to make a list of who I thought was going to be interested in this type of a business. But the reality is you never know. You just never know. So let me share a story from my previous life, from my previous company, right? I'm going to try to share stories too, you guys. Keep you awake, all right? So I actually put my mother on my list. Now come on. Who here would have put their mother on the list, right? Some people, right? Yeah, you guys know what the deal is. That's right, Sam. Your mom's, she's awesome. Yeah, is she here? No, honestly, a lot of people probably left their mom off because they're probably not thinking, right? Now, my first experience in network marketing, I did leave my mom off my list. I was like, yeah, she's my mom. I'm not going to forget about her. I don't need to write her down, okay? But what happened was I did just that. I forgot about my mom being interested in an opportunity. So I didn't talk to her for years. And then I put her on my list. And when I put her on my list, you know what happened? She talked to her realtor in Ocean City, recruited one person. In her whole career, she recruited one person. And that person recruited someone who recruited someone, and they ended up having about 4,000 people in the organization. Yeah. Thanks, Mom. Right? But it's because I put her on the list. So the first thing you want to do is when you make a list get everybody. Pretend that your sponsor or your support team leader is literally over you, you know, watching you like I did last week with you guys. Put that name on, you know, and just put everybody on your list. And that list of yours is your Mona Lisa. Okay, what I mean by that is it's your artwork, it is your gold, it is everything that you have. In fact, that is what we do. That's our profession, is working a list. So it's kind of like, you know, a football to a football player, you know, running backs in football. You know, Ben was a running back when we played football together, right? They have you hold the ball wherever you go, you know, through school, and we would try to make him drop it and fumble, which he'd do all the time, you know, but, you know, but you gotta, that football is like, that's, you know, and that's how your list is. Your list, I always have my list pretty much on me, okay, and you're always making your list. When you meet people out and about, put them on the list, because that list is your artwork. So the first thing you want to do is make your list. Now, how do you expose people on the list? I got to go quick. There's a lot of information. I could probably talk for an hour about making a list, okay? So when you do make your list, what you want to do is you're going to have to expose people on that list. Now, we're going to get to the exposure part. We're going to talk about that more with cold marketing, okay? Right now, we're on the M, we're on, you know, making your list and so forth. Exposure I'm going to go more into with cold marketing, but as far as warm marketing, how you expose somebody on that list, okay, is I do one thing is I make a top 10. I make a top 10 of people who are a combination of open-minded and also sharp, all right? So we all have people on our list that are not so sharp, right? You know, we think of, don't mention any names, all right? Don't mention any names. But, and we also have people on the list that are like way up here, Donald Trumps of the world, right? Those people who are hard. Well, I personally, I don't want me or honestly anybody that I bring into the business to go after either one of those at first. Because number one, we don't necessarily want people who can't tie their own shoes in secret, right? This is a selective business. We want people to, you know, we want to take everybody, you know, but the reality is for the first people we approach, I want that person, and myself included, when I recruit someone to my, you know, when I'm first getting started, I want to have success, I want to have quality people to work with, all right? And at the same time, though, on the other spectrum, I would highly recommend not putting the Donald Trumps on your top 10 either, because for new people, right, they're probably new in the business, and they don't necessarily, they're not very good at talking about the business, okay? Now, you're going to have third party. You're probably going to have your sponsor help you with talking to these people. But at the same time, at the end of the day, the most important thing for your recruiting is a relationship you've built with the person, and not necessarily the magic, you know, Michael Jordan, you know, you're going to put on the phone and going to solve all your problems. Your upline. They're going to be good, where that third party is really important. But I like, for my list, in my top 10, to be sharp people, but though people that are close to me, okay? People that are going to, you know, hang around and help me out, and, you know, the 2 a.m. friends that are going to come and pick you up at 2 a.m. when you're out and about. I'm not going to say where you are, but I'm just saying when you're out and about, right? So make that top 10, and then outside of the top 10, when you have your list, I categorize it red, green, blue, all right? Reds are the Donald Trumps, blues are the people that we want to mention, right? And greens are the individuals that are kind of on your level, so to speak, all right? I mean, God all creators equal, but you know what I'm saying? People that are socioeconomically on your level, maybe a coworker, maybe a friend. But you got to be careful, because sometimes those greens think they're reds, all right? So you got to be careful, all right? Now, I expose people on this list, red, green, blue. I make sure that when I approach these individuals, I've always made sure that I know what I'm doing before I approach them. So I literally will take, you know, 30 seconds. And this isn't just me, by the way. This is, you know, all the top leaders, the Bradshaws. Really, a lot of top leaders will tell you the same things, okay? But the best thing to do would be to think about what you're going to say before you pick up that phone. And so, you know, there's two approaches. There's the direct approach, and there's an indirect approach. All right, so write that down, direct and indirect. Direct approach is an approach that's kind of more direct. It's exactly how it is, you know. So what I've always done is I've used the direct approach for people, maybe blues and greens, hey, you should come out, check this out. This is an awesome opportunity. I'm really excited about it. I can't wait to show you. You need this opportunity. Whatever, it's pretty darn direct. And then an indirect approach is an approach that you might say to a Donald Trump, hey, listen, I've always looked up to you, so to speak, stroke their ego, and then get them to evaluate this in their opinion. And it works like a charm. Because you're not coming at them, because remember, they might be thinking, who are you talking to me? Right? Okay. Now, another tidbit on making calls. Okay, raise your hand here if you ever got nervous making calls before. If your hand's not raised, it's probably your first night in secret. You probably just signed up an hour ago.
Only when I first started dating.
Well, what?
Only when I first started dating.
Exactly, yeah. There you go. There you go. Yeah, we've all done it. We've all been dating, right? It's no different. All right, so you just got to do it. Now, here's what's going to help. I believe it's helped me a ton. Okay, is this process when I'm making these calls, no matter whether it's a red, green, blue, whatever it is. Okay. One thing that you might want to do is when you're making these calls, you pick up the phone. Okay, take a couple breaths. Think about what you're going to do. Indirect, direct. All right. And when the person answers the phone, all right, whether you're going to use the opinion approach, the indirect approach, or the direct approach, number one, state your time frame. Write this down. This is so important. I can attribute this right here to at least my own personal, like where I am in my life, right? I did this with you, I think, right? Like, this is so important. Number one, to state your time frame. Hey, look, John. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Look, I only got a couple minutes, all right? But I want to talk, and I'm going to keep going. Let me backtrack. The reason why you do that is because when you state your time frame, then you know that the call's not going to last 30 minutes. They're not going to keep you on the phone asking about how to, what's this all about? You've already stated, only got a couple minutes. The second thing you do is you state your agenda. All right? State your agenda. Whether you're direct or you use the opinion approach or you're being direct, always state your agenda. The reason why, all right, is because, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand on this one, but think to yourself if you've ever felt kind of sleazy because you called somebody for something and you wanted to ask them something, maybe you haven't talked to them in a while, and you kind of small talk, and then at the end you drop the bomb on them. Anybody ever experienced that? Man, if you can master getting around that, you can get anybody in front of this information. The reality is, with recruiting, is just getting people in front of this information, okay? So one thing you might want to do is just state your agenda up front. Say, hey, look, I've only got a couple minutes. I called. I know we haven't talked in a while, or whatever you want to say, but I called because I want to talk to you about something that I'm really excited about. But first, how are you doing? How's the kids? Then you small talk. Right? This is so key. Then you small talk. And then 9 times out of 10, they will bring it up. And man, it's such a relief because now you're being honest. You're not beating around the bush. They bring it up and they say, well, Glenn, why'd you call me again? It was great catching up with you, but I got to go soon. What'd you call again about? What? Oh, I'm so glad that's right, And so the next thing you do, okay, is you do the invitation process. So the indirect or the direct. Well, I was calling you because I want your opinion on this, and then you go to the direct approach. You invite them out to a meeting, okay? Recruiting is all about getting people in front of a presentation. Getting people in front of the movie, which like SU might be the movie, okay? A webinar might be the movie. Getting them in front of the movie, not trying to act out the movie itself. You guys follow me? What I mean by that is, think about if you called up somebody and said, hey, look, I got a great movie you got to see. It's called Forrest Gump. Let me tell you all about it. Okay, so Forrest, this guy, right, he's kind of mentally doing stuff, and he was running, and his legs were coming off, and then he had this girlfriend named Jenny, and Jenny was really cool, and then, they didn't like each other at first, so he liked her, and then she liked him, and then he went to Vietnam, and he was a good football player, but he met this guy, Bubba, was his best friend, he liked shrimp, and then at the end of it, then Bubba died, and it was really terrible, and then, you guys see what I'm saying? You don't want to do that, because how many people here have seen Forrest Gump? Is it a phenomenal movie?
Sure.
My explanation, did it sound phenomenal?
Oh, no.
It sounded pretty ridiculous, okay? And that's what we're doing here with recruiting. All you're doing is you're getting people, again, warm and cold, Mr. F's, you're getting people in front of the information, okay? And you're exposing them. So one other caveat here, one other thing you might want to do with some people, you might want to, when you first call and say, hey, I only have a minute. The second thing is, I'm here to talk to you about something. What are you doing Thursday night? You might want to drop that. Well, what are you doing Thursday night? Or what are you doing before you go into anything? Ask them what their schedule is, because then they've already told you, well, I'm free Thursday. Now when they find out it's a business, they can't back out. They already told you they're free. Right? That's one way to get people to commit before you've really, opened up the can. You guys follow me? Okay. So those are little, real brief, how to make a list, how to contact and expose your warm market. All right, so cold market. So everything is either warm market or cold market. So we're still on meat, believe it or not. These are way quicker. Meat is, you got to meet people. That's the most important thing, and I think that's what I struggle with. Okay, I think most people struggle with how to meet people, because recruiting is all about meeting people and developing relationships. If you can do those two things, you're golden, because we have an awesome thing to show them. You guys follow me? Okay. So cold market. Raise your hand here if you think you burned through your warm market list. Okay. Notice how I said think, because you can always go back and find little nuggets, right, Rigo? All right, you can always go back to your list. Oh, forgot that person. All right, so that's what I mean. Always be really making that list. Always look at it. Okay, so here's the thing. Cold market is very important, because at the end of the day, I don't care if you know thousands of people, you're going to run your warm market someday. And the reality is you know more people, you don't know more people than you do know, right? So let's talk about cold market. Cold market, in my opinion, the only reason in this business, this is not some telemarketing, you talk to somebody for 5 minutes, they sign up, and at the same time, this is also not something where people come and knock on your door to say, I heard you're doing a business, I want to join it. Right? You got to go out and you got to develop relationships, and that's the most important thing here. So even if you're meeting people cold market, it is rare that you meet somebody and sign them up, within the first night or whenever. I mean, it's rare. You really need to develop that relationship, which is R, okay, which we're going to expand on in just another second, and turn these cold markets into lukewarm markets or even warm market people. It's critical. So how do you meet people? Well, my favorite thing to do is networking groups. Networking groups, and that includes things you like to do. It doesn't include it includes a formal networking groups, but it also can mean maybe you want to be in a bowling club. Maybe you like to bike, be in a mountain bike club. Do something you like, and guess what? If you're saying you don't have any time, excuses build bridges to nowhere. Okay, bottom line, okay? I always tell my daughter, excuses are mountains of nothingness. She'll come in, but excuses are mountains of nothingness, all right? And that's the reality. Look, we all have 24 hours a day, and you might not have much time, that might be true, but find a way, whether it's on the weekends, at nights, whenever, find a way or a networking group to be a part of. So there's meetup.com, there's BNI, there's Entrepreneurs Exchange, there's the Chamber of Commerce. There's all types of networking meetings, and there's all types of clubs, Toastmasters, book clubs, church clubs, church groups, whatever. I could go on and on. We could talk about it, but the reality is if you don't like it, you're probably not going to succeed at it. That's just the reality. So do something that you really like. I really like networking groups. I don't really like to bowl or do many things. I like to work out. So I work out sometimes and go to the gym and meet people and all that. That's what I like to do. Okay, so basically choose something. So write that down. Choose something. That should be an action step. If you guys, this is great information, but knowledge is nothing without applying it. So put that on your agenda right now. If you have a to-do list, write that down. I will join a networking group of some sort. One networking group where you're meeting 20, 30 people a week. Some of them you only meet maybe 30 people a month, but you develop relationships. They're all different. So I would highly recommend that. The other thing is social media, which is an art in and of itself. Okay, you can learn a lot on. We have an entire training dedicated, just like this is an SU training, a whole recruiting training. We have an entire social media training. So I'm not going to go into that, but I will give you a couple tips on social media. try to post something every day, all right? And try to make 80% of what you post not about the business, 20% about the business, maybe 30, all right? Don't be all about the business, all right? But be on social media, be present. Use social media as a way to develop relationships. Once again, going back to this, develop those relationships. All right, so social media is just like a phone. That's all it is. You're not gonna, it's not the end all be all, but it is a way to connect with people, connect with old contacts. And it's okay, by the way, if you have old contact that you're afraid to approach, trust me, I still have people on my chicken list, people you haven't talked to in 10 years, 20 years, but guess what? They might be looking for this, okay? And so I love social media to contact people from high school, people I haven't talked to in a long time. And the reality is they haven't called you either. You know, it is what it is, right? They haven't called you either. So that's why I love, when I call people I haven't talked to, I said, look, it's a shame we haven't talked in a while, but guess what? State my time frame, state my agenda, right? Catch up, then invite using the indirect or direct method. I don't act like it's an issue personally, you know. That's just me, you know. I'm straight. Look, we haven't talked in a while, okay. So another cold marketing technique we all know is the 3-foot rule. The 3-foot rule. So the 3-foot rule, you can use the same approach with people you haven't talked in a while. This is important for the 3-foot rule. You always got to have a reason to talk to somebody about the business, right? That's most important. I think, look, we've all been there, you know, calling a pizza guy when you really don't want a pizza, you just want to meet somebody, right? Calling a cab when you live down the street, you know, I need a cab, you know, and then get in the cab, you drive to 10 feet, hey, thanks a lot, right? Okay, we've all done those things, but look, cold marketing, that type of way, the exposure, quick exposure, right? Write this down. It is going to add to your business. It won't build your business. Building your business is developing relationships on your warm market, meeting people, developing relationships through warm market, or taking cold market people through these groups and other methods and developing them into relationships and then exposing them to the business, okay? Those type of exposures, the key there is the compound effect. Try to do one a day, and one a day is 365 a year, or 2 a day is 700 a year, okay? Whatever you want to do. The goal is to not say I'm going to do 10 a day, because it's not going to happen. And if it does, it's not going to last long, because I don't know anybody that can do 10 a day like that, unless they're just like, you know, miracle workers, all right? But try to do 1 to 2 a day, but stay consistent with it. And for all these methods, and I know I'm dropping a lot of nuggets right here, but just try to write. I see y'all just, some of you writing fast. Keep it up. Next thing is track everything. Track your warm market. Track on your list. Write how many, you know, when you called them. This is a business, guys. Secret is a business. The more you treat it like a business, the more it's going to pay you like a business. And the reality is this prospecting is all that we really are supposed to do. This is it. This is why this is our business right here. All right. So track it. Track when you talk to the last person in your warm market. Track how many people you talk to in a week. It's not that hard. It's not rocket science, right? I have a spreadsheet. 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, it has 365 on it. You know, days, and I track it. Okay, who I talk to. Try to get a phone number. It might not always happen, but always have a tool ready to share with them. Whatever. Maybe it's your business card directing to Explosive Home Biz, or whatever prospecting tool you want to use. But the key takeaway here is it's not going to build your business. It's going to add to your business. If you're already bringing in, you know, recruits and you're building your business, those exposures on top of all that is going to add to it. It's certainly not going to build it, right? Referrals. Get referrals, another cold marketing technique. Taking referrals from your warm market. If somebody says no to you, still try to get a referral, okay? Here's how I do it. I say, well, look, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. You know, whether you do this or not, you know, we're still friends. We're still bros. We're still boys. We're still whatever. Don't change how you talk. Be yourself. But hey, you know, I tell you what. If you know anybody that would be interested at all in these products or in the business, okay, I would really appreciate referrals. In fact, Susie, tell me right now, again, I know you're not interested in the business, okay, because you got all the money and the time in the world. I understand that. I always throw that out there. So I know you're not interested because you probably have all the time, money in the world, right? Get her thinking a little bit. I say, no, I don't. I say, but, you know, who do you know? Give me 2 or 3 people, right? Give me 3 people. Who do you know that you know is looking for an opportunity? Or who do you know? Always have something that is key that they'll remember. Who do you know that's in Australia? Who do you know that you know is struggling to make their mortgage payment? Okay. Who do you know that's a good networker? You know, who do you know that owns a salon? I got a guy, you know, he's a good friend of mine. He's in business. You know, Keith and Morgan, they rock, right? So when you're asking for referrals, try to have something that they can remember. You guys follow? Okay. All right. So build the relationship. We've been kind of dabbling on a lot of these. So remember, meet, build a relationship, expose, follow up, sponsor, and taproot. Okay. So building a relationship, real quick. Here's how you can build relationships. Genuinely like people. Okay? That's the name of the game. You know, genuinely liking people that's the most, I mean, that's pretty up there with pretty important. And if you don't really like people, this might not be the business for you. Just saying. Okay? You know, I mean, it just, you know, and so building relationships, number one, genuinely like people, and you got to genuinely really care about helping people, and that's hard to teach. I just got to say it. The next thing is, one little trick I do, and how-to I do, is a hangout hit list. All right? This is something I came up with one day because I was so sick and tired of telling people that I was going to see them and not meaning it. Or not necessarily not meaning it, but knowing it probably won't happen. Raise your hand here if you've ever bumped into somebody or had a conversation with somebody that you haven't seen maybe in a little while, and you both said, hey, let's get together. And it never happens. All the time. Well, guess what? I have a little thing on my iPad or my iPhone. It's the notes section. It's a little hangout hit list. I have it. Every time I meet somebody and say that, I write them down. And guess what? I'm pretty much always the person to call that person all the time. And I look at it. It's right next to my goals. Because this business and recruiting, the success in your business is going to be how you work your list and the relationships you build. And look, you do have to put effort into it, right? It's not just going to happen naturally. And it might seem kind of weird if you're building relationships and it's not organic, because they're not organically happening, okay? But that's okay because you got to put effort into that, because relationships are effort. You guys follow? Yeah. And the more relationships you have, the bigger your business is going to be. I just want you guys to think right now. Think of the people you have on your team right now, right? Think of the best person you have on your team right now. Everybody think about that? The most committed, you know, for whatever reason, they're one of the best people on your team, right? Did they come from either someone you built a relationship with? Is it somebody you literally built a relationship with, or did they come from somebody you built a relationship with? Right? 90% of the time, maybe 95, maybe 99, it's somebody you built a relationship with. It's weird. Yes, it happens. These things happen when you're doing a cold exposure, meet somebody at a gas station, you sign up. You know, there's been stories like, you know, Mark signed up, someone put a flyer on his car. Mark's not really a friend anymore, but, right, came from a flyer. This was in another company, right? You know, that happens, but that's far and few between. The reality is it's all about building these relationships. Okay, so people don't care what you know until they know that you care. That's another little tidbit about building relationships, all right? Remember that. You know, honestly, that's an affirmation that I have. I have a daily affirmation. I have daily affirmations that I read every day. And I ingrain that personally in my day because I'm a human being. We're all human beings. And the reality is, human beings, we think sometimes of ourselves. right? First. You guys follow? It's true. But people don't care about you. For most of the time, they're caring about where they're at and how they can be helped. And that's how if we want to attract people to this business, because the reality of recruiting is attracting, it's all about them. How can we help you? How can this business help you succeed? People don't care about how much you know or how much Ben knows up here, talking about the business during the overview time. They don't care. All prospects care about is how much you care and how can it help them. Okay? So that's building relationships for me. Some things I do. Exposure. Okay, so we're exposure. We've already touched a little bit on exposure with your warm market. Okay? Actually, we've touched a lot on exposure with cold market. Okay, always compliment people is what I was starting to get to a few minutes ago, maybe 10 minutes ago. One thing I always do, one thing that's always helped for me is to expose, when I'm exposing people cold market, I'm complimenting them. Okay, I'm complimenting them. Right? And so, compliments and have a reason. And a lot of times the compliment is the reason. So for example, let's say you went to school with somebody and it's been 10 years and you're calling them about the business. All right, say Chad and I went to school together. Hey Chad, look, I'm calling you about something we haven't talked in a while, but I thought about you because you were always real popular in high school, you know a lot of people. Or because you're always a positive guy, I'm building a business, want to surround myself with positive people. Right? Compliment, compliment, compliment. And that's how, look, we all have things that we do, we all have, every training up here is going to be different. Every trainer is going to be different. They have different things. But one thing that's worked for me is complimenting people. So somebody compliment them. And that's a reason. A lot of times the compliment is the reason why you're talking to them, because there's a gap. When you're talking to people about the business, there's a major gap. Okay? Here's the gap. Here you are. I know you, or I know you for 30 seconds, maybe met at a gas station, or I know you for 10 years. Whatever it is, I have this relationship at whatever level it is. And then you're talking about a business opportunity. Where's the gap? Right? Why is this happening to me right now? Is a lot of times what prospects are thinking, like, why are you calling me? Like, why me? You guys ever feel like that? Like, why am I going to call somebody and talk to them about a business? Why them, right? Well, that's the gap you got to fill by complimenting. So, like, let me give you another example. Let's say you're at a gas station, you're talking to someone. I'm going to fill that gap real quick, right? Meet somebody, look them in the eye, hear them in the eye, talk to them. Look, you have a great car. Find a reason to talk to them. I'm a car guy, I like your car. Found a reason. You have a nice tie, I like ties. All right? Or you have a Boston accent. I heard you talking to the gas station attendant. You have a Boston accent. I have a Boston accent. Are you from Boston? Always have a reason and then compliment. And a lot of times the compliment is a reason, right? Like, nice car. I like to associate people with nice cars. Right? You must be a sharp guy, you're dressed sharp, whatever. What do you do? Well, that's awesome, because we're actually expanding in your area, a business, and we're actually looking for sharp people. So now you're not weird, right? You've closed the gap. Now it's not strange that you're talking to him. This guy at the gas station is saying, well, okay, he's talking to me because we have something in common, and he's looking for somebody like me because I am a sharp guy, right? And so connect that gap. Okay, so whether you're exposing somebody, there's a nugget on exposure, right? We talked a lot about exposing your warm market list with the order in which you say and do things when you make those calls, and also try to compliment. Okay? So is it a numbers game? Last thing on exposure. Is it a numbers game? Yes or no?
Yes.
Trick question. Yes and no. Here's the thing. It's a simple function of numbers, but it's not necessarily a numbers game. Like, so for example, let's say you're a rookie in Secret. It's all good. We were all there at one point in time, right? And then you have Sam Parzo, right? Sam Parzo, right? New bronze in the area, almost silver, I think, right, Sam? Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot here, right? You have Sam Parzell.
Soon.
Right? Soon, right? Sam's pretty good at talking to people. Okay? Well, if somebody, it's a function of numbers. So it is a numbers game, but the better you are at talking to people, the less numbers you need to get to the same place. So one fallacy, if you will, is to just strictly say it's a numbers game. It's not a fallacy. It's incomplete phrase, if you will. Because the reality is it's a numbers game plus a skill game. You know, and I'm not going to sit up here and tell you like, hey, it's just a numbers game, expose everybody and you're going to make it. Nah. You know, you can certainly burn through your warm market. Certainly. You know, you could say the wrong things. You know? If somebody's really open and interested and you get them in front of a third party, maybe your support team, right, your upline, whatever, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, you're going to have a much better shot even if you aren't very good yet, and that's the goal. When you're new, you get it with your support team to help you make calls. Okay? But the reality is the better that you get and the more you take responsibility on your own business, probably the less numbers that you're going to need to succeed. So make it a point to go through. So what if you do both? What if you go through the numbers and you're really good? Wouldn't that be awesome? That's what we should all be going for, right? So it's not that, oh, I get to work less because I'm really skilled at talking to people. It's go through the numbers, rock it out, get really good at it. This indirect, this direct method, you know, and how do you get good at it, guys? Going back, tying everything back to my personal story, and I think pretty much every success story out there, whether it's, you know, somebody who is in network marketing or, you know, in any type of a business and anything, it's always about sticking through the tough times. You know, like Rich Schott will tell you, you know, he has several businesses. He's a very successful guy, and he'll tell you that it's all about sticking through those tough times, right? So the reality is that's how you're going to get better, by coming to these meetings, by listening to these trainings, by hearing different, you know, speakers that do things maybe a little differently, picking up nuggets from every individual leader in the market, okay, and applying that learned knowledge, which is what you're going through right now, and turning that into activity knowledge, which is doing it and falling and scraping your elbows and knees a little bit, okay? All right, that's a little bit on exposure. So it's yes and no, it's a numbers game, but it's also not, know that, okay? So following up, exposure, following up, the fortunes in the follow-up. Here, you know, this is talked about a lot. I think everybody pretty much knows that follow-up's key. You don't just talk to somebody once about the business and forget about them. So this is a rule of thumb, okay? Rule of thumb here is never cross anybody off of your list never cross anybody off, period, unless they've joined secret or they have passed away. And that's actually not a joke. I'll say some jokes in here and I'll kind of laugh and chuckle so y'all laugh with me because I'm not very funny, okay? But that's actually not a joke until people pass away. And unfortunately, if you have a big list and this is what you're doing, your working list, that will happen. Okay, it's happened to me, unfortunately. But never cross anybody up, because here's why. Someone could tell you no, and it could be 5 years from now, and they're in a totally different situation than they were when you first talked to them. It might be the day after they got in a fight with their spouse about money that you called them. The key to recruiting and follow-up and really mastering this, right, is to be a robot when it comes to getting rejection, right? Go for no. Raise your hand if you read that book before. Go for no. Yeah, phenomenal book. Write that down. Definitely do it, right? Go for no. Okay? So here's the thing. Another little nugget or tip with follow-up is always have a reason to follow up. Always have a reason to follow up. Don't just casually follow up with somebody, because the reality is you only have a certain amount of calls to make to that person. You only can expose the person and invite the person out to a meeting or do whatever you're going to do to get that person in front of the information. You really can only do that so many times before they do what? Stop it. All right, and so I think that's a big mistake that I used to make, and that sometimes I still make it because I just want somebody to join so bad. I'm like, do it, you know. So I always got to tell myself like, stop. I have a reason. So what do I mean by a reason to follow up? Don't just follow up for no reason. I have like Nicole Wong's coming in town. That's a good reason to follow up with somebody. You know, I've been dripping on this girl for a long time. Okay, she's in a company called NA Power, right? Dripping on her for a long time, and you know, I'll send her texts here and there, but like I don't just want to follow up with her, say how you doing, hey, have you thought about the business? When you're calling, have a reason. So what I was doing is I'm saying, hey, look, I know it wasn't the right time before, but I must say something. You got to come see Nicole Wong because she's incredible. You know, and here's why. And I went into edifying Nicole Wong. Okay, so every time you follow up somebody, have a reason. That way, your follow-ups, you're using them wisely. You guys with me? Yeah. Okay. Sponsoring. Okay, sponsoring. This is a whole nother topic, but I put it under my recruiting training because what you're trying to do really is sponsor somebody in a way in which they recruit more, and thus more recruits come onto your team, and then you can taproot them, right, and their contacts, which is going to help the both of you. Right. So when somebody joins a business, they're at their highest level of anxiety and their lowest level of knowledge. And that's typically a dangerous situation, except for one thing. Their excitement level is also probably at their highest. Write that down. They're at their lowest level of knowledge, their highest level of anxiety about the business. But the one thing is that they are most excited. Going back to in between your ears, okay? If you probably look at the success in your own organization, most of your success in the past has probably come from times that you've been excited. Am I right or am I right? Good, and you guys would agree. Okay, so the thing is, when somebody joins, that's a precious time because they're super pumped about this business, yet they need you the most because they're the lowest level of knowledge and the highest level of anxiety. So when again, here's the thing, like we can have a whole training on sponsoring, but as far as recruiting goes, okay, there's blueprint training. I'm not going to get into sponsoring, right? But what I will say with respect to recruiting, all right, is when you sponsor somebody, you literally need to point them in a direction and fire. And how you do that is by eliminating all the other clutter out there that they're going to get their head and hands on. Clutter like, you know, sitting on YouTube and watching videos for 10 hours about how the business. Ignorance on fire is more powerful than knowledge on ice. Now, as a sponsor, it's up to you guys to point them and direct them in the right direction. Like come to SU, right? You know, let's do the blueprint within your first 24 hours. Let's get to your top 10, all right? Because they're at the highest level of anxiety, but also their highest level of excitement. And you need to take them through this recruiting process, get them in front of other leaders and in front of other trainings, and make sure that you're literally there with them, making their list, helping them make calls. Which brings me to my next thing, which is taprooting. Because recruiting is not just recruiting people you know or people that you've met, but it's also recruiting people that you've recruited recruits. And that's how you get to the next level, is taprooting. All right? So taprooting is basically, the whole reason why we recruit people into Secret is to get to their people. Because you can't just recruit 2 people and expect them to sell $25,000 a week in volume, or whatever it is. Right. Unless they're like, it's not going to happen. So the whole goal is to recruit people right and get you their people. So taprooting, therefore, is extremely important, right? And so with taprooting, again, it's all about urgency. So write that down. Taprooting is about urgency. Because here's the deal, guys. Your new agents are like a time bomb. And they have a wick. And that's so some of the wick is longer than others. And the second they sign up, it's lit. And that wick's lit. Now you can extend that wick by bringing them to a super regional event, Nicole Wong, and they might get excited again and extend their wick a little, maybe learn, extend their wick, they're not as close to blowing up, right, which means dropping out of the business, okay? And I'm not going to sugarcoat things. Yes, people drop out, right? The reality is some of you might not be here in a year from now. That's just the reality of business. But nobody here falls in that category, right? So how long's your wick? Right? How long's your wick? So when you have new recruits and you want to taproot them, you got to taproot them. It's all about urgency. It's all following through, not just going through the blueprint and getting them to write the list down. It's about getting their list, sitting down with them, and helping them make calls, showing them some of this stuff, showing them the indirect approach. Now our team website, by the way, when they go on, the new team website has the Getting Started Blueprint right there, the whole thing on it, right? You know, it's right there. So every time I recruit someone now, right, send them to the welcome, explosivehomebiz.com/welcome, boom, tell them what to do. Taprooting is extremely important. Another little nugget on taprooting is those top 10 people, try to meet people within your first 48 hours, okay? And not only book a spa party, but also a private conference call or a webinar to get people outside, either that missed the spa party and can't make it, or people in other geographical regions, right? And then again, we could do a whole hour on taprooting, but basically the name of the game is taking them through that sponsoring process, getting through to their people, helping them, showing them some of the stuff we learned here, okay? Talking to their people using third party by helping them literally talk to people, get them in front of something, whether it's a spa party or the webinar or private conference call, what have you, okay? And doing the same darn thing with their people. And don't rely on them to do it. Don't pass the baton too early. Do it for them until you find a leader and grab onto them. And when you grab onto that leader, you know, now we're just getting a whole another topic. But when you find that leader, find that good person, cling on to them. It might be the person you brought into business, the person that started the whole thing, or it might be someone 10 levels down that you've taprooted led to. Okay, you guys good? It's all good? And that's not TMI? Okay, so in summary, before I go into slides really quick, which will be, what we're about, okay. All right, so I think the only, yeah. All right, so the only thing I'll do that I know the slides pick up on is they talk about the third party, three-way calls and stuff, that I don't have too much in my training. So I will use that at the end here, but there is one more thing that I want to kind of sum everything up with, okay? This is the business. The business is a funnel. Can everybody see this okay? This is the business. This is recruiting. This is secret. It's a funnel. And at the top of the funnel are people on your warm market and your cold market list, or people you're adding to your cold market. Right? Here's people. Yay! Right? And right here at the top of the funnel is where they first get exposed to the business. Right? So we have spa parties, you know, live VIP event webinars, right? So let's just put webinar, right? Webinar, sit downs. What other ways we expose people to this business? SU, right? Briefings. What else, guys?
One-on-one sit down.
One-on-one, I got that.
Regional, you got that.
Regional, it's a good one. Regional. PCC, right? You guys got it.
ExplosiveHomebiz.com.
Explosive, yeah, the web, so websites, right? So basically, guys, these are tools. And here's why I use tools, and this kind of goes in my third party talk, okay? So this goes into third party a little bit. The reason why we use tools, well, for a couple reasons. Number one, you don't want to necessarily make this about you. It's always about the information. Going back to the Forrest Gump example. The reason why is because people, especially in warm market, have associated you in some way, shape, or form with something. Whether it's high school, whether it's the jock, whether, you know what I'm saying? And so what you want to do is you want to remove yourself, so you remove anything in their head, tying secret to anything about you. And so they see the opportunity for what it is. That's one reason. The second reason is duplication. Because even if you are really good and you are the master salesman or woman, most people aren't. And the reality is, if you want to have a six-figure business, which I assume most people probably do, right, at some point in time, who would kick six figures out the door? Okay? The reality is, if you want to do that, it's going to have to be built with an organization with a lot of people. And statistically speaking, a lot of people aren't good salespeople. So basically, the laws of duplication are this. Here's the laws of duplication. Do I want to do what you do? Do I have time to do what you do? And can I do what you do? And that's what every single prospect is thinking. Do I want to do what you do right now? I don't think so. Do I have time? I certainly don't have time to go into an hour-long presentation, you know, right? Right? And can I see myself doing this to my friends and family? These are the things people are thinking, right? And so if you get out of the way, right, and if we make it about the third party, the movie, whatever this is, most people say, wow, that's really great. I can bring someone to a meeting. I can get someone to do a website. I wouldn't mind taking my friends out to a spa party, right? So you might be really good, right? And be able to really sell this to them, and they might agree with you. This is an awesome opportunity, but I can't do it, okay? So this is why third party is so crucial. And again, going back to taprooting and sponsoring when you recruited somebody, because you can be a master recruiter and then, you know, basically not do anything with people, and it's not going to it's not going to grow, okay? And so tools use that third party, right, to help people duplicate, and then you funnel people from the tools to the meetings. So you got SU every week. This SU could be an exposure tool, but then you funnel people to the weekly training, right, guys? Then you funnel people and you build this business from the training to what? Regional. And then from regional, where do you build it? Convention. And if you have 100 people at a convention, you are set for life. That is pretty much a standard in the industry. So your whole goal in this business should be to recruit, expose, and bring these people to the funnel. And then when you have people pop out the end here to convention, guess what they're doing? Same thing. That's all this business is, right? And so, in summary, that's what you're trying to do, right? In summary, again, I think something that I didn't talk maybe too much about, but I did open up with, and I expressed that it's very important, is the whole in between your ears thing. I tell you what, these how-tos, I hope they've helped you tonight. I hope that you've taken some things from this whole training, but the reality is, it's all up here too. So how can we get excited up here? The key is being aware. Write that down. The key is being aware of your momentum curve and stepping on the pedal when you know you're high. So let me close by asking you guys this. When do you think are times in your life, in between your head, that you're going to be excited about Secret? When are times that you're going to be excited? When you first sign up is one. After a regional convention.
After actually.
When you get a check in the mail.
Rank advance.
What?
Rank advance.
Rank advance. Great. That's awesome. Recruit somebody. When else are you going to get excited in this business?
Any day that ends in DAY.
Any day you wake up on the right side of the dirt, right? No. Unfortunately, gratitude is a daily practice. But here's the thing. What? Positive feedback from a customer, or getting a customer, or positive feedback in general about the business. Absolutely. The key here, guys, I'm going to end with in between years because it's the most important thing. Because the reality is you can do all the stuff wrong that I just went over. And if you're excited, people are going to join, okay? so true, okay? But, again, remember the numbers game. Get better, need less people, okay? So the reality is, guys, we close with this. Look, Be aware of when you are on top of the world and you're excited. Be aware of it. And that's when you got to step on it. That's when you make more calls. Look, I'll tell you what, in real life, real talk, right? Yesterday, I was so down, man. Like, I actually, here's what happened yesterday. I didn't have my coffee in the morning because it snowed on Monday and we ran out of coffee and I couldn't get none of the stores were open. I'm like, yeah. So Tuesday rolls around, I don't need coffee. I'm like, I love coffee. I love caffeine. I was depressed. I was like, you know? And I was just not, I was not in the mood to call people like it was tough, right? But what I did was, I was aware of where I was, and I didn't call certain people because I knew I'd get pounded because I just wasn't ready. You got to be ready. And I did call other people to kind of, to get me going a little bit. You guys follow me? I called people like that were going to be more receptive, wasn't have to battle with to get out to a meeting. You know, because I was aware. So I made a strategic decision about my day because I knew where I was in my day, right? And so that's what I encourage everybody to do here. Be aware of where you are, and when you get a yes and you're high, you're like, yeah, right? That's when you just ignore everything. Miss meetings, you know, miss meetings. I'm not talking about as you. I'm talking about miss like other stuff that's not important and just crush the phones. And don't do it. You know, here's the deal. We can say this all day long or all night, but the reality is, are you gonna do what's necessary? Are you gonna pick up that phone? Are you gonna, when you're excited, are you gonna keep going? I don't know. That's up to you, and that really depends on your why. Is your why great enough? Are you, excited enough about this business? Do you want this bad enough? Because the deal is there's a lot of people in this marketplace that are making things happen, and they're all different types of people. We all have the same vehicle. You mean? Just look at the people on stage that came up, right? Look at Brad Harrell, who just hit bronze. Is Brad better than anybody here? Brad might think he is, but just kidding. Brad's a beast. Brad's stuck in, right? But the reality is, he just kept going, and he knows when he's excited, and that's when he calls me and gets me on the phone with people, and when he's down, he makes it through. Right, guys? So all right, everybody, thank you very much.